welcome to the IncGamers Podcast, episode 106 of the IncGamers Podcast. My name is Peter Parrish. I am with Paul Younger. Hello, Paul.
Hello.
And Tim McDonald. Hello, Tim.
Hello.
Hello to anyone who happens to be watching on the live stream right now. Good on you if you are. We are gonna, you know what, last couple of weeks we have rambled on for well over an hour on this podcast, so we're going to try and keep it tight this week. If you have a comment on that, like whether you prefer the more focused ones or the more rambly ones, let us know, but we're going to try for a shorter one this week, see if we can keep it nailed down to a bit less time. So, without further ado, let's move on to some news, and I've got to start with an apology, because unfortunately Tim's review of The Cave has caused Ron Gilbert to leave Double Fine Studios. Really sorry about that, anyone who liked Ron Gilbert being at Double Fine. Maybe that's unfair, Tim, I don't know.
I wondered where you were going with that when we started with an apology and then Tim's review, and I thought, what have I done this time? I wasn't expecting that. Yeah, this is totally my fault. I'm sorry, guys.
You bastard. I liked Ron Gilbert being at Double Fine.
I like being at Double Fine. I like Ron Gilbert. I just didn't much like The Cave.
You weren't alone in that, to be fair. It got pretty mixed reviews. Yeah, he's announced that he has left the studio after completing The Cave. He did something very similar, actually, at Hothead. I think it was Hothead Games, when after finishing Deathspank, he left there as well. So maybe this is just what he does. I don't know. We don't have much more information than that, but I thought it would just be amusing to blame Tim for it. I don't know if anyone has any theories as to why he might have left at this point.
I blame Tim.
Yeah, me too.
That said, I didn't traumatise him enough that he's left gaming. He's just decided he's going to leave.
Yes.
He still says that there are lots of games he wants to make and so on and so forth. So we will still be seeing more Ron Gilbert titles.
Hey Tim, I've got a quick question to ask you. Actually, are you sitting in front of the sun? Because you're completely white.
No, it's night outside. So I go and set up the big light.
He's just got luminescent skin, Paul. It's fine. I don't think that's going to help. It looks more
Turn
light
more
now.
lights on.
Oh, actually, no. That bizarrely has actually solved the problem.
Yeah, more light on kind of evens it out. It's
very good. Very good. Anyway, moving on. I'm trying to keep this tight. Damn it! I already had a light diversion.
Have you told the listeners why you're trying to keep it tight?
Yeah, just to see like whether they prefer a shorter, more focused one, or whether they prefer the rambly. The truth is, of course, that it makes it easier for Paul to edit the video afterwards.
No, the truth is that you're hungry and you want to go and get lunch.
That's also the truth, because I'm on daylight savings time and the UK isn't yet, so it's pretty close to lunchtime. Yes, the truth revealed. We did over the weekend and last week turn into a bit of a SimCity news service on IncGamers. There's so much SimCity news was there coming out of Maxis and EA, of course to do with server problems with their always online approach to the game. A few events that Amazon pulled it from digital sale for a bit, then they put it back up for digital sale. I think EA came out and said that people who ordered it on Origin could have a free game. Although, Paul, do you know what free game that is? I've just asked you a question while you're drinking. Marvellous.
Sorry. Do I know what free game it is? No, I don't know what free game it is. Probably something from their 1972 back catalogue. But no, we
the original Battlefield.
Yeah, we don't know yet. I think it was around the 18th of March or something. I think they said they were going to inform people about what was available.
Yeah,
I think they're just trying to sort their shit out, basically.
How have you viewed EA's response, Paul, overall? How they've sort of handled this?
I think I'm more perturbed by the fact that they didn't think a lot of people would be buying this game, and they didn't have enough servers in place. This whole thing has come out of server issues, not necessarily game issues. This is infrastructure. I don't know how they've got it so wrong, considering how much they've put behind the marketing campaign for this particular title. And it's SimCity, for God's sake. You know, any PC gamer who's been around for long enough will be wanting to play this game. So I think it's been completely let down by infrastructure. And how they've handled it, I don't think they could have handled it any other way with not having anything in place. You just have to battle your way through it, get more servers online as quickly as possible, which, to be fair, they have fairly cranked up the server pool since launch day on the 5th. Having said that, though, I will say I logged on when the EU servers went live, and I had absolutely no problems whatsoever, and I have not had any problems since the game launched on the 8th in Europe, here in the UK. So I'm kind of sitting here going, what's all the fuss about? But obviously there are problems, and they're trying to address them as quickly as possible. They can't really say much more than that.
Tim, I think you said you played a little bit of SimCity. That means you must have been able to get on.
Yeah, though not through where it took a fair bit of effort to actually do so. I've had the opposite experience to Paul. I started playing last night, and at first I couldn't actually connect to any servers. They all appeared to be down temporarily. And today I logged on a few hours ago and tried connecting to the server my city was on, and it took about half an hour. That particular server, I just couldn't connect to it for whatever reason.
Can I ask, Tim, what server did you pick to play on?
I think Europe West 5.
Right, okay, that must be one of the fairly new ones. See, I went and picked... I was on Europe West 3, then I moved over and picked Antarctica. Because I figured it'd be so bloody cold that nobody would want to pick that server in the first place.
Might be right, honestly. Yeah, Europe West 1, 2 and 3, I've never seen them as anything other than completely full. I haven't even been able to try and connect to them.
Yeah, so, I mean, I jumped on to... I started on Europe West 3. I've got a city on there. It's kind of a complete shambles, the city. It was my first attempt. So I'm kind of going to go back to it because it's a challenge to try and sort the problems out. But having said that, I am playing multiplayer with Ellie on Antarctica, and neither of us have had any problems on that particular server.
Oh, well, we'll come back to some SimCity specifics a little bit later on when we get to what games we've been playing. We can get perhaps more into the game than the server issues, although of course they are intrinsically linked. But it's a bit of a shame that the game discussion has kind of gone by the wayside a little bit in the last few weeks. It's been a few episodes since we've had a bit of a look at Kickstarter stuff. There was a period where we looked at it pretty much every week. We had a few weeks off from that, but I think it's time to revisit it because there's been quite a few interesting Kickstarter things this week or in the last few days. Dreamfall Chapters wrapped up today, or perhaps yesterday. Got $1.5 million, so that's all very nice for them. Tim, did you back that in the end, or are you just?
I actually forgot to. When I noticed that the Kickstarter ended, I was genuinely a little bit heartbroken. I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach because that was something I sort of wanted to back. That for sort of $100 or something like that, a hefty amount. I did, however, discover that you can still back it through PayPal, through their website, so I will probably do that as soon as I've been paid. And spend ridiculous amounts of money on it.
You should buy a new PC, Tim. Not.
I'm going to do that as well.
Okay, good. The other big one I would say would be the follow-up. Sort of spiritual successor, they're calling it, In Exile's follow-up to Planescape Torment, which they're calling Torment Tides of Numenera, based on the new setting that they're going for. They didn't get the Planescape license, so they've got this new one instead. That did extraordinarily well. It got to its $900,000 goal in about 6 hours. It was kind of amazing, actually. at the end, I was going to write about a news piece about it launching, and then in the end, I just held off to do a news piece about, it's made its goal, because it was at about 800,000 at that point. So I thought, why not? Let's just wait for that. It's now at about 2.5 million.
I think it was the fastest Kickstarter to hit $1 million now as well. I'm pretty certain it broke that particular record.
That would not surprise me in the least. Yeah, Brian Fargo is wholeheartedly embracing this Kickstarter thing. So of course they've still got Wasteland 2 on the back burner. That's ready to sort of come out later this year, we assume. He said he's moved over people from that team to the Torment team, people who finished stuff on Wasteland 2, so they're not like spreading their resources too thinly or anything like that. So yeah, I don't know, Paul, did you play Torment? No, Tim, you were going to say something.
I was about to ask if you'd played Torment.
I have. It's one of the best RPGs ever made, comfortably.
Are you excited for this spiritual successor?
Yes, I am. I haven't backed it yet, but I will probably toss some money their way. Hey, maybe when I get paid.
Are you worried at all by the fact that Chris Avallone isn't involved in this?
I wouldn't say worried is the adjective. I would say I'm a little saddened just by the timing of it, because I think he would have inevitably been involved with it were it not for the fact that he's writing stuff for Project Eternity, Obsidian's RPG. He's writing stuff for Wasteland 2. He's writing like a kind of tie-in novella for Wasteland 2 and Project Eternity. Like, he just literally would not have time to be working on this right now. I mean, if he comes in somewhere down the line and when he's finished all this other stuff, then great. But I totally understand. It's probably sad for him, actually. He's probably thinking, if it had been slightly differently timed, I probably would have been in on this. But, I mean, they have a lot of other people who were involved with the original game.
They do.
I'm fairly confident, but judging by their updates, they seem to have got the right kind of tone for it so far. And it's very early days, but no, I'm liking what they've put out, and that's really all they can do to impress me right now. So yeah, how about you? I assume you played the original?
Planescape Torment, yes, it is, as you said, it is one of the finest CRPGs ever made. It's wonderfully written, and it did some extraordinarily novel things, like, for instance, the general lack of player death really made just a massive difference to basically everything. Yeah, it was a really unique setting.
I want to try and bring Paul in.
Oh, thanks.
Did you play? You haven't said anything for a while. Have you played Torment?
No, I didn't.
If not,
actually.
there's another Kickstarter that you can talk about, I'm quite sure. But,
No, it's probably one of the few games that I missed. Don't know why. Probably just doing other things, playing other stuff, into other things. No, it's
CNC.
It's not something that I'm super excited about, mainly because obviously not having played previous. So it's yeah, no, I'm not too fussed about it. I know you guys are probably super excited.
I'm quite stoked, yeah. It's just more like tailor-made than my kind of game kind of thing. But Paul, are you excited for the return? Richard Garriott has come back from space to make a game. Are you excited for this one? You did the news story on this. So.
Am I excited? No, not really. It's kind of like, what do I do now? Let's do ArmA again. Single player. So it's so woolly. The whole damn thing is so woolly about what it acts. It's not an MMO. It's like a single player but multiplayer game that you can also take on your iRack or iPod or whatever it is.
iRack.
You know. So I don't know. It's kind of like he's kind of fumbled around after the disaster that was Tabula Rasa. After he shot himself into space, he got lots of radiation while he was up there, came back, his brain was reverted back to Ultima days, and all of a sudden we have this new sort of Kickstarter campaign. I think the big thing of this is, the big debate is whether he should actually be having a Kickstarter at all, because he's so loaded and literally does live in a rather odd-looking castle.
He is an interesting guy, isn't he? Let's be honest.
Yeah, I mean,
his Kickstarter pitch, I was kind of missing what he was saying, so I was just kind of mesmerised by his way of speaking and his appearance, which I think I mentioned to Tim. It kind of seemed like he should be hanging around San Francisco selling some sandals and beads, maybe on the waterfront.
My claim to fame is I did take a piss next to him once in LA. So,
good job.
I didn't shake his hand or anything. I didn't think it was appropriate. I don't know about this one, to be perfectly honest. I don't see why he shouldn't put it on Kickstarter, to be honest. Everyone makes games to make money. Why fund it if people are going to back it? Why not let them back it? Whether it's super exciting or not, for me, not really. I'm not that fussed about it. But it'll be interesting to see how many people actually are. He does make some valid points, however, in his statement when the game was announced, saying, that MMOs are really sort of linear. They're all the same. You got your NPCs, but you quest things above their head, and this is about actually creating your own adventures and exploring and so on, which is quite nice. I do like that. Whether it'll be super embraced, I don't know.
It is going to make its funding, by the way. It's 800,000 out of 1 million after sort of 4 or 5 days.
I think with Garrett, even after Tabula Rasa, he could fart in a bottle and it would make the money. So,
well, to be fair, he did all right out of Tabula Rasa because there was a sort of court case where he ended up with about $28 million or something after it. So
that added his sex dungeon extension to his castle.
Oh man, is that libel? I don't know.
He doesn't really. That's a rumor. Apparently, allegedly.
Oh, nicely covered. Well done. Yes. We love you, really, Lord British. Oh, I do take issue with him being called Lord British when he's not British, though. That's a little bit... I find that a little bit of a slur.
Is he a lord?
He's not a lord either, no. I don't think.
Well, it's just bollocks then, isn't it?
Is he a Garriott? Is he a Richard? We don't know.
I'm probably, yes.
He's a Richard Garriott, yes.
Maybe that's not even his real name. What do we even know about this guy? Who is he? Where did he come from?
And he's just allegedly conned $800,000 out of people on Kickstarter.
It was freely given.
I was never a huge Ultima fan, but I am kind of looking forward to this. I think it'll be interesting to see because it is a very, very different type of RPG to what we've seen of late. I'm curious about it. Now, I think I've told my story of my experience with Ultima Online on this podcast before, when I destroyed a wedding.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, you have.
That's
it.
But yeah,
No, I'm not going to let you talk about how you destroyed a wedding.
No.
Which episode was it when you talked about that? Do we remember? I can refer people back to it.
I don't.
Comb through the archives if you want to know how Tim destroyed a wedding in Ultima. No, I'm looking at my watch and we're gonna move on from this now. Yeah, that's right. I'm taking control as host of this podcast. One other Kickstarter thing, Shadowrun Returns, showed about 20 minutes of footage, and that was looking quite nice as well in the old Kickstarter corner there. But now we will
quickly, just to add to that, I quite like the look of that strategizer that went up last night, the 10k one. They're really looking for 10k to get the project finished. That looks quite nice. Tower defense game. Check it out on the site.
Strategizer, there you go. Yeah, that's only 10,000. Is that pounds or dollars?
Pounds.
Pounds, okay. There you go, another Kickstarter tip for you there. So, games that we've been playing. Well, if you looked at the site, you'll know that we have all played the ArmA 3 Alpha, and otherwise known as the game in which I'm unable to dress myself. Do you know what? Here's the thing, right? Let's just... Okay, so what happened was I was trying to... We'd shot some unfortunate character. I was trying to switch out my my fatigues, let's say, with the inventory system. So I took off my combat gear. I was going to put on the other guy's gear, maybe as like a disguise or something, or just to sort of switch up how the character looked. And it wouldn't let me. And not only would it not let me do that, it would then not let me put back my old clothes on. So I was just kind of left in my pants and vest and full backpack combat gear. But I have since learned, by reading the ArmA 3 sort of tutorial hints and stuff, that the reason you can't wear the uniforms of enemy combatants is because it's against the Geneva Convention. So I was actually trying to commit a war crime, unbeknownst to me. So that's probably why. That doesn't explain why I wasn't able to put on the stuff that I'd been wearing previously. But yeah, all the fun of ArmA 3. That's what I've learned from that. But yeah, we all played a bit of that. What do we think, Paul? How did you find ArmA 3?
I really liked it, actually. I loved. I didn't like the last Operation Flashpoint. I played the original ArmA a long time ago, and the closest thing I came to playing it as a tactical shooter was probably Dragon Rising, which obviously isn't Bohemia Interactive. It's Cody's, but that was actually a pretty good. It was a lot of fun, but it was only fun because it was in co-op. So I played the whole campaign through on co-op. I really like the look of ArmA 3. I like the authenticity. I don't know if that's the real word, but I like the fact that you can just, one shot and you can go down. It really is so much better than running around like a headless chicken in something like COD, where it's just dead up, dead up, dead up. This, you have to use a bit of your brain power. Not that we did, obviously, when we were playing. And your driving skills, I must say, Peter, are absolutely shit. But
I'm not used to driving Jeeps, man. What can I say?
No, well, there you go. But
I found where the headlights were.
It was fun, although Tim and I didn't manage to get off the island after you disappeared, because it was pretty big, and that's one of the smaller islands. I really did have a lot of fun playing it.
We did get quite far though. We made it a fair distance, and then we started getting stalked by an armoured vehicle, which kind of made things go horribly, horribly wrong. But yeah, I quite enjoyed it as well, a lot more than I expected to. Not least because it actually runs on my computer a bit better than ArmA 2 did, which is terrifying. So it kind of looks like Bohemia are actually trying to polish this up a bit and make it a bit less buggy, a bit better optimised than they are really famed for, which is a good thing.
I think it's sort of a fascinating mix of both the extremely tactical and the fairly accessible. Because when you jump into it, you're very familiar. If you've ever played an FPS, you've got WASD, you've got mouse look. You can bring up your gun, you can fire at stuff. But then once you get into any kind of mission where it's kind of like, so there's a scuba diving one, right, where you have to deactivate some mines, and then it tells you to capture an AA gun to shoot down a helicopter with. And deactivating the mines is fine, and then you get back on the island, and there's sort of a little enemy camp, and there's the location marker for where the AA gun is. And yeah, in a general FPS, it'd be like, well, there's like 4 guys guarding this place. That's a piece of piss. I'll just stroll in, shoot them, no bother at all. But you quickly realise in ArmA that as soon as you get anywhere near the camp, they all start shooting at you, and they're probably going to kill you. And you've got to really use the cover, sneak up, use all the different stances, the kind of the prone stance, going arm over arm in the grass, calling in you've got like a mortar strike thing in that level that you can call in. Once you've figured out how to do that, you can use that as kind of a distraction to get people lured out to a different part of the camp. It's really it's really different, actually. It's kind of a fresh. It feels fresh, just due to how deadly and dangerous the entire world and island is, as we also found in co-op as well. So I think it's nice that I think people will be dropping into it pretty easily, and then hopefully engaging with the sort of tactical side of it. It's also got a very open modding scene as well. It's really easy right now to even right now in the alpha, there's a whole bunch of different missions that people have made in the map editor that you can download and like drop into your missions thing and have a go at, and little mods like a kind of foldable map so that you can pop up a little map in the corner rather than having to go to the full map screen every time, stuff like that. So yeah, I'm quite liking how it's shaping up, and yeah, just for an alpha, looking pretty nice. If you would agree with that, guys.
Yeah, I think we need to play it again at some point. I think we need to try that Hector's mission again now that we know that we have things like night vision goggles. And now now that we know that you probably shouldn't, with headlights on, drive right into an enemy base, Peter?
Oh, hey, I thought maybe they were going to be nice. Maybe they were going to help
someone in there.
If you don't play these things co-op like a complete moron, there's no fun, So, let's face it, we had a lot of fun playing it, even though we knew what we were doing was completely wrong, like charging into a village when there's 4 people standing in the middle of it, and all I see is Peter's head just flop behind the wall. That's what makes it fun.
That is the weird thing about it as well. Yeah, even if you have no military skill whatsoever, if you're playing it in co-op, you can still have pretty much a great time just kind of dicking around, trying to steal vehicles, just attempting to stay alive.
It's one of those games where... Sorry.
No, I finished.
It's one of those games where it's so open and you've got so much potential for how you want to do things that, in co-op, ineptitude is very funny. I mean, just thinking about the things that we did and the horrible mistakes we made and the very, very stupid bits and pieces, the situations we got ourselves into out of sheer idiocy. Although I have to admit the one bug that I did quite like was when you were driving the Jeep and for whatever reason your character model wasn't sat in the driver's seat next to me, but was instead slumped forward over the steering wheel. I liked that.
Drive, man. That's why I couldn't drive. It's my excuse. I'm sticking to it. All right then. The big release, of course, we've already talked about it a bit in the news, is SimCity, and Paul is the man who has the SimCity code and will be reviewing it for the site. I don't envy you this review, Paul, but how have you been finding SimCity?
You know what? I think we've talked about this so much over the last sort of 3 days, and I've been going, I don't know.
Yeah.
See, here's the thing. I really am enjoying it. There's not many games that I play and I can find myself looking at my watch and go, oh my god, there's 4 hours gone. It just sucks you in to the extent of where everything else just falls apart around you in your real life, which to me is the sign of a really good game. There are issues, obviously, which we discussed at the beginning of the podcast with the connectivity. I think that is slowly but surely disappearing, and as more servers go online and the player base gets spread out, that's really going to help. So we also have this issue of, and this is what I've been discussing with you a lot, the DRM or online only gameplay. Now, we have discussed this, and the attitude was, if you because you know it's got that online only requirement, and if you don't like it, don't buy it. And your argument to me is, well, that just encourages them to keep doing it, and it causes these problems like connectivity issues, not being able to play offline, and so on. Which I agree with. I think this game in particular could have had an offline, almost sandbox mode. And then you could have a second instance of the game where it didn't use the city that you were playing single player, but you had an online presence also. That would have been the best and most optimal way to do it, to keep everybody happy. You would have been able to play offline when the servers were down. You could still have fun. I just don't know the thinking behind. Well, I do know the thinking behind, but I can't. Oh, I'm just so torn on this. Because on one hand, I'm really, really enjoying it. On the other hand, that's always in the back of my mind, that I know there's a lot of other people sitting there going, but I have to. The thing is, I have to review the game. I'm not reviewing EA servers. I'm reviewing the game. So, as far as the game's concerned, I've actually been really enjoying it. There are issues, there are bugs in the game, but hey, every game's got bugs when it comes out, and to be fair, despite of all the server issues that have been happening at the moment, they are patching the game as well at the same time. I think we've had 3 or 4 updates now to address bugs since the game launched. So they are on the case, as well as trying to deal with the server issues. It is SimCity, as you know SimCity, but with the one exception of the fact that the zones are smaller, and this is one of the biggest complaints that people have, is the zones are too small. But having played it more, and this game isn't about getting out of a situation by terraforming or almost cheat. It's not cheating your way out of it, but it's kind of getting yourself out of a sticky situation by using the tools available. So without the terraforming, obviously you can't just flatten the land and say you've not got enough power, expand that and bung another power station down, and then don't give a damn, and because your city's functioning. With this, because you're restricted to the zone size, you really have to think about time planning, and this is what this game is more focused on, actually managing the city and planning it out carefully. I don't know how many times I've made really bad mistakes by not even looking at the resource map, for example. First of all, before you even start, if you don't know where your oil resources are, your coal, you can bung your town hall right on top of it by accident, and that's just because you didn't check. So there is a lot of more planning involved than you may have had to do before. I actually really like that aspect of the game. It makes you think. Juggling the taxes as well is not easy. I mean, I think last night I practically sat watching the tax level screen for about an hour and a half, going, why are people leaving? Why are people not coming in? I'm just literally trying to get my accounts balanced, and that's tricky. And it's not like playing a spreadsheet at all. You kind of think it would be, but it really isn't. And I think the city size limitation really makes you think. So while it can be perceived as a negative, I also think it's a positive aspect of the game, because if you are playing with other people and there are zones around you that are free, for example in the game that I'm playing now, which I'm playing online with Ellie, not co-op because it's not co-op, but we're in the same region, I have a second city, so I have one next to hers, that I also have a second city, so I'm balancing what's going on in one city with another one. And if I'm getting bored of that one, or I can't do it, I can take a break, go away from it, and go back to the other one. I actually quite like that aspect of it. And then as you get more cities within the region, it then starts to become a problem of what you're doing, where you're sending your resources, what you're taking back, how you're helping the other players. It is a really nice aspect of the game, but that doesn't take away from the fact that yes, it could have been single player. So I am really enjoying it. I just think a lot of the negativity around the game is people maybe not fully understanding how the game is supposed to be played, and it's not like the previous SimCity. You have to play it, I think, slightly differently.
Interesting stuff. Yeah, I mean, I would say it's a bit of a tragedy that it sounds very much like there's a very good game in the SimCity. It's just, obviously with all these other issues surrounding it, that's kind of taken away from that. Tim, you've played it a little bit, if you've managed to get online long enough.
Yeah.
Do you have a few brief thoughts about SimCity as well?
I have a few brief thoughts and one slightly amusing story. Okay. Yeah, I'd largely agree with Paul. I do think that the city size is very, very small, to the extent that my first city is now basically completely full. And I'm having to kind of now go and backtrack and delete things to try and put extra bigger buildings down, things like that. But it's wealthy, and there's loads of people want to live there, except there's no room for them. But there is a really, really big emphasis, and I didn't realise how big this was, on the interdependency between the cities in the regions. Because just about everything can go between cities in the regions. If you've got one city which has a load of police cars or what have you, then you can kind of lend them to other cities in the region anyway. You can use your recycling trucks to go and pick up stuff from their cities, bring it back to your recycling plant and turn it into resources. There is a really, really big emphasis on not just the one city, but on the region on the whole, which is why it is a bit more fun to play with other people, presumably.
Yeah, you also, I think when you're playing as well, you have to keep that in mind. You're not in this restricted zone. You have to think more broadly. I don't know how many times I've got into problems. I've had to shut down my hospital, for example, and I've said to Ellie, look, I've got sick people, can you send ambulance? To sort them out. And it's the same with the police as well. You'll find criminals going from one city to the other if another one's got... I do really like that aspect of it because it does add something to the gameplay. And Max has always said that this was designed as an online game from the ground up. And when you start playing it more and you start playing with other people, you do start to understand why the game is the way it is. I like the fact there's no terraforming in it. It really makes you think. And Tim said there about the building footprints. I don't know how many times I've had to just bulldoze a whole block or how many roads so that I can make sure there's enough room for buildings to expand either up the way and then get the wealth level correct and the right types of people coming in, which depends on your tax rates, what kind of industry you have, what industry you're going to specialize in, depending on what resources you have. It's so multi-layered that you have to really think and keep an eye on everything, and that's why you will lose hours and hours and hours to this game.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't realise. I think cheetah speed is actually still disabled at this point, to the extent that you can select it, but the clock seems to advance at the same rate as before, as on ArmA speed, or whatever the second one up is.
Actually, last night, Tim, for the first time, I actually experienced that. I've been playing it on cheetah, no problem, and then all of a sudden, last night, it just stopped. Which was really, that I was kind of like, at that point I kind of thought, well, no, it's just going to take too long to play. This is an issue for people that have been having it. If you can't have the cheetah on, you will probably be tearing your hair out, because there's only so quickly and so much you can zone within the small region that you have.
That's kind of the weird thing, though, because since I've been playing it, I don't think cheetah speed has been activated. So I've been playing it without that completely, and I only realised that this afternoon. And yeah, it did seem to be a little bit slow, but because I hadn't kind of experienced it going faster, and I thought it was going at the faster speed, I wasn't really expecting anything more.
Yeah.
I do want to say, I love the naming conventions for the cities, in that when you build the town hall, you can name your city. And naturally, I'm mentally about 6, so I tried calling my city Cockwhistle. However, the game wouldn't let me do this. It replaced it all with asterisks. However, what it didn't have a problem with was what I tried calling my city next. So I'm currently the mayor of a city called Sex Canoe.
Well, that's funny, because my city's called Poohburg. So
you're all children.
I know, that just shows how mature we are.
The best thing about that, though, is that when you load the city, when you resume your game, it says now entering whatever. So every time I restart my game, it comes up with now entering Sex Canoe.
So Tim, I want to ask you, because you haven't obviously been playing it as much as I have. I mean, your overall impressions, you've obviously been following and reading all the stuff that's been going on in the last week or so. Do you think a lot of the complaints are valid, or do you think that this game just needs a little bit more time?
I haven't played it that much, but what I have played, I have thoroughly enjoyed. I do think that the small city size is a problem, but I also kind of feel like it's intentional. That's kind of forcing you to focus more on the region and the interdependencies. I mean, I can't say for sure because I haven't played it nearly enough. It could very easily have had an offline mode, but I do think that kind of would have missed the point a bit, because a lot of the joy is in setting up a region with friends. I can see what they were trying to do with it, with kind of the base level design, and for the most part, I think so far that it works. It is a shame about the always online stuff, and the fact that there are so many server issues. The one thing that really intrigues me about that, actually, is the fact that a few times when playing it, I've had a little message pop up saying essentially disconnected from SimCity servers, but I've still been able to carry on playing, which is a little bit weird. It kind of couldn't sync the cities online, but it did as soon as it reconnected, and I do think it's a bit odd that they say they can't do it offline, but once I've loaded my city and started playing, I can continue even when I'm not connected to the servers, which is a little weird.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, okay, so that's our views on SimCity and the server issues surrounding it therein. Paul, do you have, I'm not even going to bother trying to wrap up, because Paul is always going to jump in with the Facebook and the Twitter or something. Paul, do you have any?
No, I'm not. Well, yeah, obviously, as we're
Googles.
wrapping this one up, make sure you check out IncGamers.com no, not that at all. Check Twitter.com/IncGamers and Facebook.com/IncGamers.
You can look at IncGamers.com as well. That's
Oh yeah,
always
you
good.
can.
Yeah, that's fine.
You can.
We don't mind. So yeah, this week we have currently as discussed, our attempt to play ArmA 3 Alpha. We have got a interview with Joey Barra about his Shackleton Crater Kickstarter project, a sort of moon colonization game. I think, can we mention a beta giveaway that we're going to have later? Or
There'll be lots and lots of keys for World of Warplanes for European gamers. They will probably be going up later today, I should imagine. We've obviously got the SimCity review, which is coming. No, don't make me do it.
You're going to piss someone off, Paul, no matter where you go, which way you go with it. Someone's going to be mad at you.
And hopefully at some point as well, we'll be actually going hands-on, oddly enough, with the just-launched Kickstarter for Victory. So this is the new petroglyph sort of RTSE type thing, because I can't really describe it. That launched on Kickstarter, so we will be going hands-on with that, and that'll be a 4v4 match with us versus Petroglyph, I think. So that should be rather amusing.
I think we're probably going to win. Do you think we're probably going to win?
Yeah, I think so. I think based on our experiences in ArmA and our tactical abilities, I think we've definitely got this one in the bag.
Yeah, no problem. They only designed and developed the game after all. I don't see what advantage that would possibly give them.
Yeah, and also just quickly as well, make sure if you're playing Path of Exile's a new patch coming out later today, so make sure you check out poe.incgamers.com, where our main man Dick Scotchfist is holding the fort. So if you're playing that, make sure you check that, and all the other sites as well.
A good name for a city in SimCity. Now entering Dick Scotchfist.
You know what? In fact, I'm going to do that.
Well then, Paul, I'll leave you to enter Dick Scotchfist, and while you do that, I'll say goodbye to the listeners, and we'll be back next week with another pod. Until then, see you later. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.